Welcome back, guys, to the second video of the series Chess 101, where I teach you the very basics of chess. And if you haven't seen the first video of the series yet, please click on the link that I'm going to leave up here in the cards, and you can access the full playlist of the series. In the first video, we talked about the relative value of the pieces in chess, so you can have an understanding of material values. And today we're going to talk about the principles of the opening principles in chess. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider liking the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Well, so let's talk about openings in chess. What is an opening? So the game of chess is divided in three stages or three parts. There's the opening, which is the beginning of the game. The first 10 moves of the game of chess is called an opening. Then you have the middle game, which is the middle part of the game where the pieces are already developed. And then you have the end game, which is the final part of the game, the last moves of the game when you are finishing the game of chess. So the first few moves are called the opening. So this is the first stage of the game. And you cannot start the game like in any move. There are 20 possible moves to start a game. Let's consider you're playing white. So white starts and you have 20 possible moves. You can move each pawn up one square, right? So we have 8 pawns, so we have 8 possible moves, and then 8 more moves where you can push your pawn up 2 squares. So this would be a total of 16 possible moves with your pawns. And then you can move your knights here or here. So 4 more moves with the 16 pawn moves and the 4 knight moves. We have 20 possible moves to start the game. And most of them are not really good. So if you play something like this or like this, these are very bad starting moves, and even moving your knights here or here is actually known to be pretty bad. So what you should start when you play a game of chess is you have to open lines and develop your pieces. And when I say pieces, I mean especially these weaker pieces, and we call them minor pieces, the pieces that are worth 3 points of material, as we have seen in our first video. The pieces are the knights and the bishops. So we have to develop those pieces. And what is to develop? To develop is to take them out of their initial square, their starting square. They are starting here, very, very passive in the back row of your army, behind all the pawns. So we have to take them out. And we have to take them aiming to a specific part of the board, the chessboard, which is the center. The center of the chessboard is the most important part. So we have to try to take the center, to control the squares in the center of the chessboard. And the squares in the center are more important because the more the pieces are towards the center, the more mobile they are. They have more mobility and they can attack more squares. Look at the knight here, for example. This knight can only move to 2 squares. It could move here, but there's a pawn here, so it can't do that now. But this knight is very passive here. It can only move to these 3 squares. Whereas this knight, if it was, for example, here, if this knight were here, we could move to all those different squares right here. So we could move to 8 different squares compared to 3. That's a huge improvement, right? So it's important to know that a piece that is more towards the center is stronger because it has more mobility and it's more active. It's controlling more squares on the chessboard. So we have to aim towards the center. And the best moves to start a game of chess is to push a pawn, especially these central pawns, to control the center of the board. So that's why the move e4 and d4, pushing the pawn 2 squares and taking over the center, is probably, those 2 moves are the best moves to start. We have some other moves like this one, but it's not actually controlling the center. It's controlling this square, but it's not actually controlling the center. This one is also controlling a little bit of the center, which is the English opening. All these openings have names, by the way. We don't have to know the names. This is advanced theory. We are just keeping to the basics, the basic principles of chess here. And in the opening, we have to control the center and we have to develop those minor pieces, the pieces that are worth 3 points, because we want to use them to attack the pieces that our opponent has that are worth more points, like the rooks, the queen, the king itself. Okay, so that's our idea. We have to put our army out to attack. So the most common first move, let's say it's e4. And this move is very popular because it opens this diagonal to the bishop. Now this bishop can develop. You can access more squares. You can go here, you can go here. You can go here, but you would be blocking your other pawn, so it's not really nice. You could go here, but it's not very active either. So your bishop is more active now, controlling this diagonal. This pawn is no longer blocking the bishop, so you can do more things with this bishop. And your opponent can do the same thing. They can go ahead and play e5. They are doing the exact same move, developing their bishop here a little bit. It's controlling more squares now. It's open to be developed. And this move is like mirroring our move. So it's like a very symmetric game. We have a symmetrical position here, so no advantage so far. But now we're going to start developing our pieces, our minor pieces, especially the ones on the king side. So we have these pieces on the king side of the board. We have these pieces on the queen side of the board, but we are going to generally prefer developing the pieces on the king side first. So we can develop this knight. We could go ahead and develop this bishop here, but usually overall, as a rule of thumb, we prefer to just develop the knight before the bishop. So we are now putting our knight in a more centralized position. So here, this position where the knight is now, it is closer to the center. So the closer we are to the center, the more active our pieces are. So now this knight over here is actually attacking this pawn, and it's also controlling this square. So it's actually much more active than in this starting position. And this pawn is not protected. This pawn is actually now under attack. There are no pieces and no other pawns protecting this pawn, so we are actually threatening to take it. So what black does here is developing piece. So they are developing this knight here, bringing it more closer to the center. And by bringing it closer to the center, they are doing something else. They are killing two birds with one stone here, defending this pawn at the same time. So we were attacking it, but we cannot capture it now. Remember, we cannot trade a higher value piece for a lower value piece. So this one is worth 3 points. This one is worth just 1 point. So if we take this pawn, the knight's going to take back, and then we lose a knight for a pawn. We are losing 2 points of material. This is a bad trade for us, so we don't want to do that. So from here, now we have many options. We can go ahead and develop this bishop here. We can develop this bishop here, like we saw in the previous video. We could go ahead and push this pawn, even though it's probably going to be captured. We can still do that. This is a valid opening move. That's why sometimes we have to study some of the opening lines and opening theory, but that's not the point of this video. We want to go for the basics and the principles. So we control the center, we develop the pieces, we can go ahead and develop the other bishop here. Let's say we go and play here, bishop to c4. This is a great move. This bishop is more active now. It's closer to the center. It's controlling some squares here. It's attacking this very weak pawn that is only defended by the king. So this is a very active position. And if you really know how to play chess and you know the moves and you know the special moves too, you probably know how to castle your king, right? So this is something that many beginner players don't know how to do, but we're going to learn it today. So here, your opponent can go ahead and, I don't know, maybe develop another knight. They can push this pawn and protect this other pawn, overprotect it. They can go ahead and mirror our move and go ahead and play this, for example, bishop to c5. And they are basically doing the same thing, right? They are also developing a knight and a bishop. We also developed a knight and a bishop. And here, we are ready to castle. We can go ahead and castle if we want. And this move is a move that a lot of beginners don't know how to do, but it's a very important move to play in the opening stage, because one of the goals that we have in the opening, besides controlling the center, developing the pieces, is to protect the king, because the king is worth the game. If we lose the king, we lose the game. So what we're going to do here is to castle the king. And how do we do that? We move the king 2 squares to the side that we want to castle. We can castle long 2. But in this case, these squares need to be empty. The king can't be moved until the moment of castling, and the other rook also needs to be in its first square, not moved yet. So if you want to go for that and search, you can for sure find some videos that explain this better, but it's a very basic move. Everyone that plays chess pretty much knows how to play, how to castle the king. And nowadays the computers do it automatically for you. So you can just drag your king here, and it's going to switch places with the rook automatically. So now my king is very well protected. We have 3 pawns in front of the king, protecting it. And we have this rook here that is not in the original position anymore. It's developed, it's more active, and we can go ahead and bring it here to the center to support this pawn. We can do a lot of things, a lot of stuff with this rook, okay? So now your opponent can go ahead and try to develop here, to push this pawn, castle the king. They're going to go for these very typical opening moves to control the center, develop pieces, right? Develop these pieces, castle, control the center. That's what probably they're going to do, right? So here they might go for this move. They might go for this move. And you can go ahead and protect this pawn if you want. Bring the rook to the center. You can develop the other knight. You can go ahead and bring the other bishop out here or here. Okay. Just be careful. If you, for example, bring the bishop here, they're going to take it and you're going to be losing material. So be careful with those little things. Let's say black plays something like this. You can go ahead and play something. Maybe you can go ahead and push this pawn, overprotecting here. If they develop the knight, you can go ahead and develop your knight. You can bring the bishop here, try to attack this knight. There are many things you can do. The opening stage, if you play it as a principled way, you can get safely out of the opening stage. You just have to develop the pieces, control the center, castle your king. That's pretty much what you have to do in the opening, okay? So I think that's pretty much it for this video. If you have any questions, please comment down below. If you like this video, leave your like. And if you're not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Please subscribe to the channel for more. And as always, I see you guys in the next video.